Hello, today we are going to have another tutorial, and this time I am going to teach you how to make a meal plan using the food exchange list. The one that we are going to use today is the latest food exchange list. It was, I think, published 2019. So this is the 4th edition, and it's developed by the Department of Science and Technology, Food and Nutrition Research Institute. Before we will begin with the meal planning, you just have to first be familiar with the macronutrient composition of the food exchange list. The food exchange list is divided into 7 groups. We have the vegetable group. In the previous edition of the food exchange list, it consists of vegetable A and vegetable B, but now the vegetable is just one group. And then we also have fruit group, the milk group still in 3: whole milk, low fat, non-fat, skim, and fat-free milk. And another variation in the food exchange list is the rice group, which is divided now into 3. Previously, there's only one rice group, but now they divided it into 3, which consists of the low protein rice, medium protein rice, and the high protein rice. And then for the meat, we have low fat meat, medium fat, high fat, and another one is the fat group, and lastly there is the sugar group. Okay, so take note also that all the exchanges here mentioned are equivalent to one exchange. And then what we are going to do with these values is that we will multiply it with the exchange that we will be prescribing later. For a meal plan, what we need is a diet prescription. So let us just use the diet prescription we used from the previously calculated video, and I just followed the sample given in the food exchange list also. So this is the sample diet prescription given in the food exchange list: 1,500 kilocalories, 245 grams carbohydrates, 55 grams protein, and 35 grams fat. List all the foods furnishing carbohydrates, starting with vegetables, fruit, milk, and sugar. So we will not put too much value in the following food groups, but there is a limitation. For example, for vegetable groups, you're allowed only 3 to 5 exchanges of vegetable per day. The sample just gave us 3 exchanges of vegetables, and for the fruit, you are allowed only 3 to 5 exchanges of fruits per day unless there is a need for drastic restriction of simple carbohydrates. Like for example, if we have patients that have diabetes mellitus, they are not allowed to consume too much fruits, so they are only allowed a limited fruit exchange. So for this sample, we will put 5 exchanges of fruits. And for the milk, as long as the patient can tolerate or it's allowed in his or her diet, you can put 1 exchange meat. And then lastly, for the exchange of sugar, 3 to 6 exchanges of sugar only per day unless contraindicated. Like again, for example, what I mentioned earlier, if your patients have patients with diabetes mellitus, so they are not allowed to consume any simple sugar. Okay, so what are we going to do with this one? We are going to put values in the carbohydrate side. For the carbohydrates, what we will do is we will put values here. For example, 9. So how did we arrive with 9? We will just multiply 3 exchange into the value of carbohydrate in this table. 3 times 3 equals 9. And then the next one is 5 times 10 equals 50. Then next for the milk, we have 1 times 12 equals 12. This may be too much, but as you go on or you keep making many meal plans, you will just be able to memorize all the values in this table. Next is the sugar group. 3 times 5 equals 15. Rice is also a carbohydrate group, but we did not put value or exchange values in the rice. What we will do is, we will get the partial sum of carbohydrates. Vegetables, the carbohydrates 9, fruits 50, milk 12, and sugars 15. So the partial sum or partial total is 86 carbohydrates, 86 grams of carbohydrates. So the next thing is we will deduct the partial carbohydrate from the prescribed carbohydrate. 245 is our prescribed carbohydrate from our diet prescription, this one. Okay, 245 minus 86 is equivalent to or total to 159 grams of carbohydrates. So now that we have this, we will now divide 159 divided by 23 or 6.91. So where did we get 23? So again, this is the value per exchange of rice is equivalent to 23 grams of carbohydrates. We will divide it. Now we have 6.91, or you can round that off to 7 exchanges of rice. We will now distribute rice A 1 and for rice B 5. Mostly rice B is where our plain white rice, this is where they belong. And then we have rice C 1, and then we will put values. So 1 times 23 equals 23, 5 times 23 equals 115, and then 1 times 23, 23 also. So the next thing that we will do is we will get the total. So the total is 247. Notice here that we have an excess of 2 grams because our prescribed carbohydrate is 245 grams only, but we have an excess of 2, and that is okay because for our macronutrients, we are allowed around plus or minus 5 grams of carbohydrates or protein or fat. So next, we will get now the protein values of the following food groups. So let's put the protein values of vegetables. We got this again from the table of the food exchange list. Then for the milk, 1 times 8 equals 8. And for the rice, rice A does not contain any protein. And for the rice B equals 10. And for rice C, you have 4. So now that we have the proteins from the carbohydrates, we will get the proteins. We will get the partial sum again. So for vegetables, 3. For milk, 8. Rice B, 10. And rice C, 4. So the total is 25 grams. Next one, just like what we did with the rice, we will deduct the partial protein from the prescribed protein. So our prescribed protein is 55 grams protein minus 25, which is our partial sum. Then we have the total 30. Okay, so next we will divide again. 30 divided by 8 equals to 3.75 meat exchanges. Where did we get 8? From this one again. 8 is the value of one exchange. One exchange of meat is equivalent to 8 grams of protein. Okay, we will just divide 3.75, or you can round that off to 4 exchanges of meat. Okay, so now we will again distribute the meat into our desired servings, or this kind of meat that you want. Low fat meat, you can put 2. For medium fat meat, 2, or you can also make 1 medium fat or 1 high fat. So that's okay as long as you distribute all 4 exchanges of meat. And then let's put the values of the protein, 16 and 16. Next one is we will get the total. 3 plus 8 plus 10 plus 4 plus 16 plus 16 equals to 57 grams protein. And again, we have an excess of 2 grams of protein, and that's okay because again, we are allowed plus or minus 5 grams of protein. Same with fat, carbohydrates. Okay, you're almost done. The last thing that we will do is with the fat group. Let's put the values of the food with fat. So the milk, the meat, 2, and for medium fat meat, 12. There are times that the fat is turning negative. So it's becoming negative. So what you should do is you have to adjust the kind of milk that you will give to your patient. And you can also adjust the kind of meat that you will add. So you might want to make everything low fat, or you might want to make all the milk low fat milk also, so that you can have a fat allowance which consists of oils, avocado, bacon, and butters. Okay, but if everything is already used up by the meat group or the milk group, then there can be no more or nothing left for your fat group. So this time we will get again the partial sum of the fat. Milk 10, low fat meat 2, and medium fat meat 12. The total is 24. So just like what we did, we will deduct the partial fat from the prescribed fat. This is our prescribed fat, and equals to 11. 35 divided by 5 equals to 2.2 exchanges of fat. And where did we get 5 again? So we got 5 from this table. So every exchange of fat is equivalent to 5 grams. Okay, we will just add 2 exchange and then multiply 2 by 5, that is now 10. So get the total, so 34. And then we did not reach the prescribed diet prescription, but again plus or minus 5 grams. Okay, so now we will just have to add the values of the energy or the kilocalories. So we multiply with the table, food exchange list table. So 48, 200, 170, 92, 500, 108, 82, 172, 90, 60. And the total is 1,522. There is also an excess, 22 calories. So it's okay because we are also allowed plus or minus 50 kilocalories allowance. So next, we will distribute the following exchanges into meal distribution. This portion here is what we are going to use if we are going to make a sample menu. Okay, this one will be a basis or a guide if you are making a sample menu. So for vegetables, depending on the foods that you want for a day, for vegetables, we will distribute that 1 for breakfast, 1 for lunch, 1/2 for lunch, and 1.5 for supper. So you can just distribute that one depending on your preference and the client's preference also. So for the fruits, just distribute everything and make sure that they are also total in the number of exchange allowance per day. For milk, 1 milk here for breakfast, but there are also times that patients want it for their snacks, so you can add either for PM snack, midnight snack, or AM snack. And then for rice A, PM snack, and then rice B, every meal. And then the following, okay, sugar. So this is now our meal plan, but this is going to be your basis if you will make a sample menu. This is just a translation of diet prescription into exchanges, just in case you want to read the whole process. If you did not understand any of my explanation, you might want to take a screenshot of the following. That would be all. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, and share my videos. If you have more questions, clarifications, and suggestions, so just let me know in the comment section below. Thank you.